What if someone received everything they ever hoped for, only to have it suddenly taken away? How would they react if their greatest dreams were shattered in an instant? Today, we're exploring the incredible story of a woman who faced this exact test of faith. This is the story of the Shunammite woman, a woman who, despite facing the greatest heartbreak, chose to trust in God. Her faith turned tragedy into triumph, showing us the power of unwavering belief. Her story is found in the Old Testament, specifically in 2 Kings 4, verses 8 to 37. It unfolds during the time of the prophet Elisha, one of the greatest miracle workers in Israel. Her journey is one of hospitality, unexpected blessings, and the miraculous restoration of hope when everything seemed lost. So, get ready, as this story is sure to inspire and uplift us while we explore the profound depths of faith, perseverance, and the miraculous power of God. Meanwhile, please subscribe to our channel, like the video, and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Whether it's diving into dramatic moments or revealing the significance of subtle details, we promise to spark your curiosity and make you see these stories in a whole new light. So, let's get started. Our story begins in the town of Shunem, a small village in the land of Israel. Here lives a woman known simply as the Shunammite woman. The Bible doesn't give her a name, but it gives her something far more significant, a story of remarkable faith and perseverance. This remarkable woman from Shunem is not just wealthy, she is also influential and respected in her community. Her true strength lies not in her material wealth, but in her generous and compassionate spirit. The Bible describes her as a great woman, highlighting her notable character and social standing. Every time the prophet Elisha passes through the town of Shunem on his prophetic missions, she makes it her mission to extend warm hospitality to him. As it says in 2 Kings 4, verse 8, "One day Elisha went to Shunem, and a well-to-do woman was there, who urged him to stay for a meal. So whenever he came by, he stopped there to eat." Now, imagine this. A woman so moved by compassion and faith that she goes beyond the ordinary acts of kindness. She doesn't just stop at providing a meal for Elisha, the prophet who often travels through her town. Instead, she takes her hospitality to another level. Recognizing that Elisha is a holy man of God, she feels a deep conviction to honor him in a way that will truly make a difference. She approaches her husband with a bold idea. She says, "I know that this man who often comes our way is a holy man of God. Let's make a small room on the roof and put in it a bed and a table, a chair and a lamp for him. Then he can stay there whenever he comes to us." This is no small request. Building an upper room means investing time, money, and effort into constructing a private space on their rooftop. A place where Elisha can not only rest, but find solace and peace away from the demands of his ministry. Think about the significance of this act. In ancient Israel, hospitality was a cherished virtue, but what the Shunammite woman does goes beyond the cultural norm. Most people would have been content to offer a meal or temporary shelter, but she, with her discerning spirit, realizes that Elisha needs more than just physical nourishment. He needs a place to recharge spiritually and physically during his long journeys. The addition of furniture, a bed, table, chair, and lamp, demonstrates the thoughtful care she puts into making it a comfortable space for him. This room becomes a sanctuary for Elisha, a sacred space where he can seek God's presence in solitude. It is not just a physical structure, it is a symbol of her devotion, a tangible expression of her faith and reverence for God's servant. Elisha is deeply moved by her generosity. He recognizes that this woman has gone above and beyond out of the kindness of her heart, expecting nothing in return. So, out of gratitude, he wants to bless her. Elisha calls her one day and asks, "You have gone to all this trouble for us. Now, what can be done for you? Can we speak on your behalf to the king or the commander of the army?" But the Shunammite woman humbly replies, "I have a home among my own people. This response shows that she is content with her life and is not seeking recognition or reward. Her acts of kindness are genuine, done out of love and respect, not for personal gain. Elisha, however, is determined to find a way to bless her. He turns to his servant Gehazi, who points out that the woman has no child and her husband is old. In those times, being childless was seen as a great misfortune, and it was a longing that many women carried silently. Elisha, inspired by God, calls the Shunammite woman and makes a stunning promise. "About this time next year, you will hold a son in your arms." Her reaction is one of shock and disbelief. She exclaims, "No, my lord. Please, man of God, don't mislead your servant." She has perhaps long given up hope of ever having a child and does not want to be disappointed again. Yet, as promised, a miracle unfolds, and she gives birth to a son a year later. This incredible turn of events shows how her selfless generosity led to a blessing she never imagined possible. It's a testament to how God sees the desires of our hearts, even those we no longer voice, and how He rewards those who are faithful and generous without expecting anything in return. This is where the story of the Shunammite woman takes a dramatic and heartbreaking turn. The promise she receives from Elisha, the son she never thought she would have, suddenly hangs in jeopardy, and the situation feels like an unimaginable tragedy. The child, now old enough to go out into the field with his father, experiences a sudden and severe headache as he cries out, "My head! My head!" His father, in panic and confusion, orders a servant to carry the boy back to his mother. The father has no idea of the grave danger his son faces. The servant rushes to the mother, and she receives her son in her arms. As she holds him, she likely feels concern, but hopes it's just a temporary ailment. However, by midday, the boy dies. The pain of holding her child, the very promise she had received from Elisha, only to see him slip away, is devastating. 2 Kings 4, verse 20 describes the moment. After the servant had lifted him up and carried him to his mother, the boy sat on her lap until noon, and then he died. Now, imagine the overwhelming grief of this moment. The Shunammite woman, who had received the gift of her son through the prophetic word of Elisha, must have felt like the world was collapsing around her. Holding the child in her arms, she experiences the crushing pain of losing the very thing she had prayed for, believed for, and seen come to life. This was no ordinary loss. It was the loss of a divine promise. But here's where her reaction stands apart. Unlike what one might expect from a mother grieving the sudden death of her child, the Shunammite woman doesn't fall into despair. She doesn't allow herself to be consumed by mourning. She rises with determination. 2 Kings 4, verse 21 tells us, "She went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, then shut the door and went out." This is an extraordinary moment of faith and determination. Instead of spending her time grieving in the face of this tragic loss, she carries her lifeless son to the very room she had prepared for Elisha. This room, which was originally a place of rest and refuge for the prophet, now becomes a place of hope and faith for her. But why does she place the boy on Elisha's bed? Actually, this act is filled with deep symbolism. By laying the child on the prophet's bed, she is symbolically placing him in the hands of God, believing that the man of God's anointing, the same power that brought the promise into her life, could bring life back into her son. The Shunammite woman is not just laying the body of her child down, she is laying her faith and trust in God's ability to restore what was lost. After placing the boy on the bed, she shuts the door, signaling that she is not allowing grief to overwhelm her, nor is she going to allow the death of her son to be the final word. She sets off on a mission to find Elisha, the man of God, and seek the miracle she believes is still possible. She tells her husband, "Please send me one of the servants and a donkey so I can go to the man of God quickly and return." 2 Kings 4, verse 22. This act reveals so much about her character. She doesn't hesitate. She doesn't waste time with questions or complaints. She knows where her hope lies. The Shunammite woman doesn't run to the village to cry out in despair, nor does she seek the comfort of her community. She seeks the man of God, Elisha, the one who had spoken life into her situation before, and who she now believes has the power to restore her son to life. Her mission is one of faith, not just in Elisha as a prophet, but in the power of the God Elisha serves. Her unwavering faith in the God who had made her barren womb fruitful leads her to believe that he can do the impossible again. In this pivotal moment, the Shunammite woman demonstrates an incredible level of determination and faith. Rather than sharing the full extent of her tragedy with anyone, not even her husband, she quietly and quickly prepares to leave. She saddles a donkey and instructs her servant with a clear, urgent command: "Lead on. Don't slow down for me unless I tell you." She heads toward Mount Carmel, where Elisha is, knowing it is the place where she might find the answers, the comfort and the miraculous intervention she desperately needs. As she nears her destination, Elisha, sensing something is amiss, sees her approaching from a distance. He immediately sends his servant Gehazi to meet her and ask 3 crucial questions. Are you all right? Is your husband all right? Is your child all right? She answers with a simple yet profound declaration: everything is all right. This response is not an attempt to hide the truth, but rather a powerful expression of her deep faith. In the midst of overwhelming grief, she still believes that if she can reach the prophet, there is hope. Through her actions and her faith, she demonstrates that she is not going to give up on the promise, no matter how dire the situation seems. When the Shunammite woman finally reaches Elisha, her heartache is palpable. She doesn't waste any time trying to mask her pain or pretend that everything is fine. In a moment of raw grief and desperation, she falls at Elisha's feet, pouring out her sorrow. 2 Kings 4 verse 27 captures this intense moment. When she reached the man of God at the mountain, she took hold of his feet. Her actions speak louder than words, expressing the depths of her anguish and the urgency of the situation. Elisha, sensing that something deeply troubling has happened, tries to act quickly. His immediate response is to send his servant Gehazi ahead with his staff to lay it on the boy's face, hoping to revive him. Gehazi's task seems practical, but it reveals something about the nature of Elisha's faith at this moment. He wants to try the usual method of healing first, perhaps thinking the power of God could work through his staff. However, the Shunammite woman has no interest in a second-hand miracle. She believes that only the prophet himself can restore her son. She firmly declares, "As surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you." This is not just an expression of her desperation, it is a bold declaration of faith. She recognizes that the prophet holds the key to her son's resurrection, and she is not willing to let him go without receiving that miracle. Moved by her determination and unwavering faith, Elisha agrees to go with her. Elisha understands that her plea is not just for a physical healing, but for the restoration of her promise, her hope, and her faith. When Elisha finally arrives at the Shunammite woman's home, the scene before him is somber. The boy, whom he had promised to her, is lying dead on the very bed that had once been a place of peace and rest. Elisha is confronted with the weight of the situation. This child, a miracle of God, is now lifeless. However, Elisha does not falter in the face of death. He understands that the situation is far from hopeless. In fact, it is a moment for God to display his miraculous power. The prophet's first response is to shut the door behind him, symbolizing his intentional focus on the situation and his intimate, personal prayer before God. 2 Kings 4 verse 33 tells us, "He went in, shut the door on the two of them, and prayed to the Lord." This is a moment of pure faith and surrender where Elisha seeks God's intervention before he attempts anything else. In a dramatic act of faith, Elisha takes an unusual step. He lays his body on the boys, mouth to mouth, eyes to eyes, hands to hands. 2 Kings 4, verse 34 captures this intimate act. He lay on the boy and put his mouth on his mouth, his eyes on his eyes and his hands on his hands. This action is not just physical. It symbolizes a transfer of life and a deep connection between the prophet and the child. By doing this, Elisha is invoking God's power to restore life to the boy, physically connecting with him as a vessel through which God's miraculous touch would flow. The body of the child grows warm, a sign that something is happening, but still, the boy does not come back to life. Elisha does not give up. 2 Kings 4, verse 35 tells us, Elisha turned away and walked back and forth in the room and then got on the bed and stretched out on him once more. This continued act of faith, walking back and forth, shows the prophet's persistence and belief that God will answer. Then, suddenly, a miracle happens. The boy sneezes 7 times and opens his eyes. This dramatic moment marks the child's resurrection. The 7 sneezes are significant, symbolizing completion and a divine fullness of life being restored. In that moment, Elisha knows the miracle has happened. He calls for Gehazi and instructs him to call the Shunammite. When the woman arrives, Elisha announces to her, "Take your son." The Shunammite woman, overcome with joy and relief, does not hesitate. She falls at Elisha's feet in profound gratitude, recognizing the miracle that has just occurred. 2 Kings 4, verse 37 describes her reaction. She came in, fell at his feet and bowed to the ground. Then she took her son and went out. This act of falling at Elisha's feet is not just a physical gesture. It is an act of worship and deep thankfulness. Her faith, her persistence, and her trust in the power of God have been rewarded. Her son, who was once dead, has been brought back to life through the prophet's prayer and the miraculous power of God. This miracle was not only a demonstration of God's power over life and death, but also a testament to the deep faith of the Shunammite woman. Despite the overwhelming sorrow of losing her son, she did not give up hope. She believed that Elisha, as a prophet of God, could help, and her faith was rewarded. In this story, we see a profound interaction between faith, prayer, and divine intervention. The Shunammite woman's story encourages believers to trust God's power and timing, even when circumstances seem impossible. Elisha served as the vessel through which the miraculous resurrection took place, reinforcing the deep connection between faith, prophetic authority, and God's miraculous workings. The Shunammite woman's story reminds us of other remarkable women in the Bible who exhibited strong faith and persistence. For instance, Hannah, who was barren for many years, never stopped praying fervently for a child. Despite facing ridicule and despair, she persisted in her belief that God would hear her cries. Her unwavering faith was rewarded when she gave birth to Samuel, who became one of Israel's greatest prophets. We've already uploaded a video on Hannah's inspiring story. Make sure to check it out for more insights. Another powerful example is Jochebed, the mother of Moses, who acted with faith and courage in the face of impossible odds. When Pharaoh ordered all Hebrew baby boys to be killed, she hid her son for 3 months and then placed him in a basket on the Nile, trusting God to protect him. Her brave decision led to Moses being found and raised by Pharaoh's daughter, ultimately becoming the deliverer of Israel. In our previous video, we have discussed this story in detail. Please visit and check it out for a deeper understanding. If you found this video insightful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into biblical stories. Have you ever felt like there's so much more to the stories you thought you knew? On our channel, we discuss the untold layers and hidden meanings behind some of the most captivating narratives in the Bible. Each episode invites you to explore the deeper emotions, conflicts, and mysteries that shaped the lives of people in ancient times. From family rivalries to miraculous moments, we explore the stories behind the scenes, giving you a fresh perspective on these ancient texts. Our episodes are designed to spark your curiosity and make you think about the deeper meanings behind these timeless tales. So, if you're ready to see the Bible in a whole new light, come and explore with us. You won't want to miss a single episode. And as always, feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep questioning and keep exploring.